They say love shows itself in the little things. A glance, a hand held at the right moment, a gift that says, I know you. For me, that moment came on our 3rd anniversary. I'm Mira, and for a long time I believed I had everything. Ayan wasn't just my boyfriend, he was my safe place. Calm, thoughtful, and incredibly attentive. He remembered tiny details. The way I liked my coffee, which side of the bed I always drifted toward, and how I once, in passing, said I'd never owned anything real or luxurious. So when he handed me the velvet box over candlelight, I thought maybe it was a bracelet or a simple pendant. But when I opened it, my breath caught. A diamond necklace. Elegant, minimal, but undeniably real. The stones glimmered under the soft glow of the restaurant's chandeliers. It felt heavy in my hands, like it carried more than just its carats. It's not just a gift, he'd said, looking at me. It's a promise. I didn't cry. Not in public. But my heart felt full, overflowing. He didn't need to prove his love with things, but he did it anyway, in the most meaningful way. I wore it only on special occasions. It stayed in the locked drawer of my closet otherwise, wrapped in silk. Just knowing it was there made me feel loved. Course I showed Ria. She was my best friend. Practically a sister. We'd grown up together, shared every heartbreak, every victory. When I opened the box in front of her a week later, her gasp was instant. Wow, she said, fingers brushing the edge. Ayan really went all out. There was a tone, something just under the surface. But I ignored it. Maybe it was envy. Maybe admiration. Either way, I laughed it off. She asked to try it on. Let her. She looked at herself in my mirror for longer than I expected. It suits me, she said, half joking. I laughed. Thought she was being silly. She started bringing it up a lot after that. You wore the necklace last weekend. Or, if I ever get a guy like Ayan, I want one of these. It became a pattern. Small comments. Fleeting glances. Innocent on the surface. But possessive underneath. Still, I didn't think much of it. Why would I? She was my friend. And Ayan, he loved me. He gave me the necklace not for show, not for status, but because he saw me as someone worth treasuring. Or so I believed. Back then, I didn't know the cracks were already forming. That behind her smiles and his soft gestures, something darker had begun to take root. But that necklace meant everything to me. It wasn't just jewelry. It was a promise. Ria had always been the kind of friend everyone adored. Bubbly, magnetic, the life of every room she entered. She had a talent for making people feel seen, included, important. Including Ayan. At first, I didn't think twice about how comfortable they were around each other. She'd been there since the beginning. Knew every chapter of my life, including him. But slowly, something about their interactions began to shift. Started small. She laughed too hard at his jokes, touched his arm more than necessary, leaned a little too close when she spoke. And Ayan, always polite, never pulled away. I brushed it off. She was just naturally flirty, I told myself. Ayan was with me. And Ria. She was my best friend. My only friend I truly trusted. But then came the comments. Subtle, always laced with laughter, but meant to land. You and Ayan are cute. He's intense though, right? Like so serious sometimes. Or, you're lucky he doesn't mind you being so independent. Most guys want someone softer. She'd say these things with a playful tone, as if it was just girl talk. But it never felt light. It felt like an erosion, like she was sanding down my confidence one offhand remark at a time. Once, she caught me putting the necklace back in its silk pouch. She hovered behind me, watching. You don't wear it much, she said, running a finger along the velvet box. If it were mine, I'd never take it off. I smiled weakly. I just want to keep it safe. She gave a soft laugh. Or maybe you just don't trust people. She wasn't wrong. But I didn't expect her to be the reason why. It wasn't just me either. One day, a mutual friend pulled me aside and asked if things were okay between Ayan and me. When I asked why, she hesitated, then mumbled something about Ria saying we'd been arguing a lot, and that Ayan seemed really unhappy lately. We hadn't been arguing. At least not until then. When I confronted Ria, she blinked innocently. I never said that. People always twist things. You know that. And I believed her. 'Cause I wanted to. But then the necklace disappeared. I went to wear it one evening for dinner with Ayan's parents. The silk pouch was gone. The drawer locked but empty. No signs of a break-in. No mess. Nothing else missing. I tore the apartment apart. Every drawer, every closet, even under the floorboards. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought I'd faint. That necklace wasn't just expensive, it was us. It was the only thing that had ever made me feel completely and unconditionally cherished. And it was gone. Called Ayan. He said he hadn't touched it. Called Ria. Her voice didn't even shake. You sure you didn't misplace it? You can be forgetful sometimes, babe. Babe. A word I'd never noticed her use before. Not to me. Something snapped. A memory flashed. Her watching me tuck the necklace away. Eyes following the way I folded the silk, the way I locked the drawer. I searched everywhere. Everywhere. Except the one place it had truly been hidden. In her hands. That I didn't want to believe it at first. When the necklace vanished, my mind raced with every possibility. Maybe I misplaced it, maybe someone broke in and only took that, maybe I was imagining things. But the moment I looked at Ria, all those excuses fell apart. She smiled too calmly when I told her it was missing. She asked too few questions. And when I searched my apartment from top to bottom, I kept thinking of the one person who admired it just a little too much, who once said with a laugh, "If I had that necklace, I'd never take it off." I finally confronted her in my kitchen. I still remember the way she leaned against the counter, casually sipping tea like we were talking about the weather. "I don't know what you're implying," she said sweetly. "You're stressed, babe. Maybe Ayan moved it." Her tone was syrupy, but I heard the hiss underneath. I asked her directly, "Did she take it?" Her laugh was hollow. "You think I'd need to steal from you?" "Yes," I thought. "Because you already have everything else I once trusted." Things with Ayan shifted soon after. He grew colder, distant. His texts were shorter. He stopped asking about my day. The man who once wrapped me in warmth suddenly looked through me like I was a stranger. When I brought up Ria, he flinched, barely concealed. Then one evening I walked into the cafe where we first met, hoping to surprise him. Instead I froze. They were sitting together. Ria's hand was on his, her head tilted just so. They laughed at something I would never hear. But I saw something I couldn't unsee. Around her neck, catching the soft yellow light, was the necklace. My necklace. The one Ayan gave me. The one I wore like a promise. Now wrapped around the throat of the woman I once called my sister. I stood there for a moment too long. Long enough for her to see me. Her smile didn't falter. In fact, it sharpened like a challenge. Trophy displayed. Ayan didn't even look ashamed. He looked relieved. I didn't cry. Not then. Not in front of them. I walked out without a word. My footsteps were slow, steady. Like I was shedding not just two people, but a whole version of myself who ever thought their love was safe. They didn't just take the necklace. They stole the history, the trust, the innocence. She didn't just take what sparkled. She stole what mattered. And I promised myself, you can betray me once, but I will decide how the story ends. For days I couldn't sleep. My chest felt heavy, my head constantly buzzing, like my thoughts were stuck in a cruel loop of memories, betrayal and disbelief. I replayed everything. Ria laughing in my kitchen. Ayan's warm promises turned cold lies. The necklace glinting on her collarbone like a scar across my trust. I was humiliated, broken, furious. They hadn't just betrayed me, they had paraded it, flaunted it. And I had let them. For a while I spiraled. I skipped work, ignored calls. I stared at the spot where the necklace box used to sit on my dresser. It was more than stolen jewelry. It was the last piece of a love I believed in. But then, something shifted. A question echoed louder than my pain. What are you going to do about it? So I stood up, washed my face, and picked up my phone. I started digging. Slowly, carefully. Like I was piecing together a case because I gathered screenshots. Flirty messages Ria once sent Ayan. Back when she pretended to be just my friend. I saved the DMs she left on influencer pages, begging for collaborations. I screen recorded her bragging in stories about her designer lifestyle, wearing my necklace. And then I found gold. A mutual acquaintance told me Ria had been trying to worm her way into an elite social circle. Fashion events, designer brunches, luxury brand launches. But she didn't have the pedigree, the background, the reputation. Until she started flaunting the necklace. The same person whispered. She said it was a gift from her boyfriend. My boyfriend. My necklace. That was her ticket in. She used my love story like a prop. She burned down my world just to build a paper-thin throne. But here's the thing about people like Ria. They're so busy posing they forget who's holding the camera. Gathered everything. Filed it neatly. Dated. Backed it up. Shared it with people who mattered. Not out of vengeance, but out of clarity. She wanted fame through a lie. I was going to show the world the truth. She burned my world. But I rebuilt it with gasoline. And this time I was the one holding the match. The gala was everything Ria had been dreaming of. Glittering chandeliers, cameras flashing, the elite of the city gathered under one extravagant roof. And she walked in like royalty, clinging to Ayan's arm as though he were a prize, not a person. Around her neck, gleaming under the crystal lights, was my necklace. The diamond necklace Ayan had given me. A gift soaked in memory and betrayal. But I wasn't hiding in the shadows. Not anymore. I arrived deliberately late. Heels clicking with certainty. Dress fitted in sharp elegance, expression calm and unreadable. People turned. Whispers followed. I hadn't been seen in these circles since the rumors. Since the photos of Ria and Ayan spread like poison. But tonight the script was mine. I watched them from across the room. Her fake laughter echoing as she introduced herself to influencers and CEOs like she belonged. Ayan barely smiled. His eyes scanned the room, searching for me. He found me. And I smiled. I walked up to a well-placed security liaison I discreetly contacted earlier. Handed him the official police report I had filed. A report that listed the necklace around Ria's neck as stolen. Evidence included. My photos of it in its case. The text Ayan once sent me with it draped on my collarbone. Ria's accidental mirror selfie posted before she deleted it. And then came the screenshots. Her messages mocking me. Bragging about the upgrade. I didn't have to scream. I didn't have to cause a scene. Within minutes, the officers quietly approached her. Flashes went off. First from photographers, then from startled phones. Guests stepped back. Murmurs turned to questions. Ria tried to protest, clinging to Ayan's sleeve, but he took a step away. A coward when the light turned harsh. She was escorted out, still wearing the necklace she swore was hers. I stood still, surrounded by eyes, none of them judging me anymore. I was no longer the discarded ex. I was the woman who returned, composed and cutting, with the truth held like a sword. By morning, screenshots from the gala hit social media. Gossip pages exploded. Hashtags trended. Her reputation. Tarnished. Ayan's. Forgotten. Mine. Rewritten. She wanted to shine in my spotlight. I turned it into an interrogation lamp. In the days after the gala, the silence was loud. Deafening even. Not for me. I had already made peace with the wreckage. But for Ria, the silence became a storm. Her name began vanishing from guest lists. Her phone calls went unanswered. Her smiling photos disappeared from influencers' feeds, one by one. Sponsors and brands she once flaunted like feathers quietly pulled back. Her shine faded fast. And Ayan. He saw her for what she really was. Not the dazzling, supportive woman she pretended to be, but a calculated climber. The charm cracked once the spotlight turned hot. He walked out one morning, no drama, no warning. Just gone. I heard through mutuals that he didn't even fight. Just said, I don't know who you are anymore, and left her standing in the doorway, the necklace already confiscated by authorities. Then came the message. First I ignored it. She sent another. Then another. A long email. Rambling, desperate, trying to twist her betrayal into a misunderstanding. She said she was sorry. That she never meant to hurt me. That Ayan wasn't worth it. That I should understand. Understand. She wanted me to relate to the pain she created. I didn't reply. She tried again, voice messages now. Crying, cursing, blaming everyone but herself. One day she called me pathetic, the next begged to meet one last time. But I had already said my last word, without saying anything at all. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't need revenge anymore. Because she had destroyed herself with the very greed she once weaponized. She wanted everything, status, admiration, love, and she ended up with none of it. The people she stepped on to climb up were the same ones who refused to catch her when she fell. And me. Had moved on. Quietly. Gracefully. She thought I'd break. But I forged myself in silence. Life moved on and so did I. Not with fanfare, not with fury. But with quiet power. I started working again. Poured myself into passion projects I had once shelved. I reconnected with old friends, the real ones, and found laughter in places I thought I'd never see joy again. The necklace was eventually returned. The police had it cleaned, packaged, and handed back like some trophy. I didn't cry when I opened the box. I didn't even smile. I simply placed it in my drawer, closed it gently and walked away. Because by then, I'd already gained something more valuable myself. I didn't need a diamond around my neck to feel worthy. I didn't need a man on my arm or fake friends in my corner to feel loved. I had rebuilt my identity, not around pain or vengeance but around purpose. And I wore my peace like armor. My silence, my boundaries, my grace, that became my luxury. Ria. She became a footnote. Not because I erased her but because I stopped carrying her in my story. She thought I was weak, naive, breakable. She thought she could steal what mattered most. But she never realized. She stole a diamond. Became one.